Welcome.
To the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 312 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. We're going to be hacking on some Firefox stuff, getting down in the nitty-gritty, maybe reviewing some patches, working on some stuff. It's going to be great. Let's get started. I'll start by, as usual, sharing my screen. Let me just do that. Okay, so this is the agenda. If this is your first time seeing this the stream before, welcome. Good to have you here. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I think I know what I want to do today. I think I know how it's going to go, but it might go completely sideways. Things might go horribly wrong. I haven't really planned much beyond knowing what it is that I want to do, and so it's possible we might get stuck, sidelined, rat holed, whatever you want to call it, or we might have great success. We don't know. That's kind of the joy of coding. We don't know what we're going to get. We're just going to see and find out. The other thing I want to point out is that the agenda that we're looking at, there are links to it if you wanted to follow along, because I will be updating this as the episode progresses, and it will slowly synchronize in the background. So if you reload the agenda, you can get the most latest the links that I've put in here. And the way you can get access to that is if you're on Air Mozilla, it's in the details section of this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the video description. Same with diode.zone. And if you're on Twitch, scroll down in the channel details for a link to today's agenda. All right. I'm going to skip over the episode guide, although if you're curious, there is a viewer-driven episode guide that you should check out if you want to know what went on during this episode or previous episodes, or future episodes for that matter. And there are links to that in the agenda, and you should contribute if you'd like to add your own notes addenda. I guess I didn't just skip over it. I just really went into it. Special shout out to Smurf D, the prolific contributor to the episode guide. I really should call him the episode guy. What are we doing today? Well, originally I was going to hopefully work on this Windows jump list stuff that we've been hacking on for like the past, I don't know, half dozen episodes. And one of the things that I'd done is I'd moved my Windows machine back to the office. And in theory, I'd be able to work on it both in the office and then from here by VPNing in. And so I did a test today, VPNing in, and it is not very usable. I think we would find that a very frustrating experience. The latency on remote desktop with over the VPN connecting to the office machine is there's too much latency. And so I have to do either some tuning there, and I didn't want to do that in front of you, the tuning. That'd be boring. So we're going to delay working on the Windows jump list for one more week. We'll try next week. We were getting somewhere last week, though, so we'll see where we get next week. And instead, I thought we'd work on some Migration Wizard stuff, because that's also important. So before we dive into the Migration Wizard, whatever you want to call it, let's review a patch that's in my queue. There's actually copy link address. There is a patch that we reviewed last week by Danny Colin, who was whoops, that's the episode guide link. What in the world is this? Is this the wrong? That's the wrong link. Let me get the actual link to the review request. So Danny Colin had sent us a review request to review on the stream. Oh no, that's the right link. What's going on here? Why isn't it working properly? Well, at any rate, we're gonna review this patch today. And this patch, if you recall, had to do with containers. And there's this bug where it's too easy to create a container with no name, which looks very bizarre. If you only name a container and you have just white space characters, it looks strange. And so we had a solution. I suggested a solution. Danny Colin got right in there with the fix. It was great. And then I requested some tests. And so there was a little bit of back and forth. He added some tests. I gave him some feedback on the tests. And so let's see where we're at. So the first thing that we did was make it so that when you're updating the containers, when you have the form in front of you for setting the name of a container, the accept button is the enabled or disabled state is conditioned on whether or not name value has some non-white space value, and we can do that by like coercing the trimmed string to a Boolean, and that's what we're doing here. And then so that makes sense. We'll test this, but that makes perfect sense. And then browser containers name input. This is a test for containers where we're testing. It looks like Danny Colon is putting in these Unicode white space characters. There's a whole variety of them, and we make sure that the button is still disabled. The done button should be disabled when the value contains only white spaces. That's great. So that's a good test. And let's see. This is the important part. Contextual identity names cannot contain only white space, so we don't allow white space only names to go through the create method for contextual identities. And then the same thing for updating. And then I asked for a test that we assert that this method throws, calling create, and then we pass in some white space character only name and then some other values here, and then we expect this message to come back. And then there was one for identity like updating, so we check to make sure that an identity exists, and we throw and we try and update the name to be white space characters only. That's great. I think my only suggestion here is to have this be assert.ok, although it seems like throughout this file we're already using OK rather than assert.ok, so I think that's like consistency within a file is better than is the right call. So I think this is good. This works for me. This is a thumbs up from me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now pull down these patches. Let's pull, what do we have on the top here? Okay, we're going to pull down this patch here. Let me pump up the font. Pump the font. Pump it up. And we're going to apply to here. All right. And let's see here. That applied cleanly. We have it checked out. Let's build it. Okay. And sorry, I was just having to respond to someone who was asking a question. And let's launch this thing and try it out. And then we'll run the tests. And then I think presuming this all passes, I think we're good to go. So settings, under privacy and security, containers. Where's containers? Containers, I should just search containers. There we go. Here we go. We're going to add a new container. We're going to say no name. I'll add a name A. Settings. I'll remove the name. That's perfect. See, that's good. And pretty sure that is like the primary mechanism for managing containers. Like I can't think of any other one that's built in. I think there's like an addons.mozilla.org. There's like a containers add-on, the multi-account containers. Let's just see what this is like. So we add that, and does that? All right, we're gonna pin that to the toolbar. Get started. Okay, next. Okay, not now. Okay, so manage containers. New container. So this is interesting. What happens if I don't give a container here? I mean, this isn't. So it just named it. It just named it for us. So it seems like the add-on has also like solved this problem, although its solution is to use like a generically named container number 01, and that's fine. That's the prerogative of this add-on. So that's fine. New container. Nothing. Just white space. Oh, see, that didn't work. I wonder if it's because I actually put in some white space characters. Hang on. Save. I don't see a save button, so what happens if I go back? See, it keeps it. Okay. Well, that's the sort of thing that I think maybe the multi-account containers add-on could be updated to have consistent behavior, but that's really sort of external to what's actually happening here, which is the underlying platform support. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove this add-on. And then I'm going to run the automated tests. So let's run this one. This is a unit test. And then we'll run this one. And then I think I'm ready to give it an approval. Passed. All right. How about this one? Okay. That looks good to me. I'm happy with this. So I'm going to say accepted. Accept revision. Testing approved. Thanks so much, SDK, for your hard work here. This fixes it wonderfully. Also, thanks for the tests. Always thank your contributors. And now let's get this thing landed. Oh, I gotta log in. Hold on a second. One moment. I guess I haven't logged in a while to Lando. Big old password. It's gonna make me two-factor. Let's find out. No, we're good. Okay. And preview the landing. Now, that is true. It has unresolved comments. I think just for FYI, if you're contributing to Mozilla and you're using Fabricator, one thing we do like to do is when we have these like issues brought up, there's like a done field that you can click to sort of say like, hey, I've addressed these, and then you submit whenever those are done. And that's what Fabricator is complaining about. Now, I have verified. Let's verify these like manually. Yeah, he like that typo's been fixed. The mock linting errors, like the linting issues that had been in here, have been fixed automatically. And this is out of date. So I think we can go ahead and just ignore. Like we'll do the override and just let it. We'll just let it land. Go for it. Connect 4. I see Ray7 is typing. What's up, Ray? Okay, so that is now queued for landing. Great job. Great job, Danny Coleman. I want to review something else. So this is a patch from a student that we're working with from Cal State LA, who is helping us out with some migration wizard stuff. Ray7 says, it's my first time watching a staff engineer at work. It's pretty crazy how quickly you're getting the context of these tests and requests. I mean, that's one of the skills I think you get as you become more and more familiar with a code base and the technology stack is recognizing shapes of solutions and problems. And you know, it's like, no, I think I've used this metaphor before. It's like understanding, if you think of a code base like a city, a very big city like the one I'm in, Toronto, or like New York, or I don't know, Paris or London or something, it's very difficult to know every square inch of a whole city. But you can get to know a neighborhood, and you can get to know patterns in that city, like how the transit system works, where parks are big parks, and like, you know, where the popular places are. And so over time, you kind of get to know the moves of the city. And that takes time of just walking around and getting used to it and doing stuff in the city. And that's the same thing with code, I find, is that speed comes with familiarity and, you know, noticing patterns and getting used to stuff. So, for example, those Moki tests that Danny Colin wrote, I've written Moki tests before, and I've definitely reviewed Moki tests. Been doing it for years, and so I recognize the pattern. Same thing with the contextual identity service, which I'm not deeply familiar with, but I did help review whenever it first got landed. So like I helped the privacy and security team get that stuff in the tree. Oh, Ray 7's in Mississauga, and if you're not familiar with Mississauga, that is a city near to Toronto. It's like I would consider them almost like siblings, like one's right next to the other. You start building maps. Yeah, mental maps. You quickly get what you're looking at. That's exactly how I think about it. Yes. So, in this bug, what we're dealing with is the migration wizard. And let me show you the bug first. So I'm going to go back to Central. We're going to build this. Mississauga. I've always liked Mississauga. They've got a really nice restaurant there called Kanji Queen, which I like that restaurant a lot. We're gonna what I want to show you. I want to show you the bug. So what I'm gonna do to make it easy to kind of see the bug is I'm gonna use a tool called Storybook. Storybook is something we now have built into the tree. And you know, it's not a Mozilla only tool. What's happened here? I wonder if I need to like reinstall part of it. Oh yeah, my remote desktop session that I was testing went down. Let me Storybook install. Do I need to redo this? Oh yeah, Kanji Queen fans unite. It's so good, and it's not just kanji. Like the kanji's good, but like they've got so much good food. Maybe too much good food. That's always my problem. If you're not familiar with the Kanji Queen, they serve like sort of traditional Chinese food, but also like the Canadian notion of Chinese food, and so lots of variety, lots of vegetables, you know, chicken, pork, beef, noodles, rice, tofu, and it's all delicious. And I have and it's served like kind of like family style, where everyone gets their own plates. They bring out these big plates with the food on it, and you put your portion on your own plate, which is great. Except that I have this habit of ordering way too much food, and then I have like a fridge full of leftovers for days and days after. I say that like it's a problem, but that's actually a great problem. What I call a high quality problem. All right, let's launch Storybook, and then we're gonna launch the instance of the browser here in a separate terminal. Yeah, as a vegetarian, I think for most, there are certain, in my experience anyways, Chinese restaurants, if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, that can be that really tightens the window of what you can order. Yeah. Okay, so this is Storybook. Mozilla didn't build Storybook, but we're starting to tinker with using it as a way of like having a gallery of UI components that the front end of our browser product uses. And one of the things that we've put in here is the migration wizard. And, having it exist in Storybook means that it's decoupled from the sort of the privileged stuff that it can do. And that's nice because there are multiple contexts that we might want to use this migration wizard in, including not only like in the in this dialogue, like form of a dialogue, but also in content for like an about preferences or about welcome. You know, I can see us embedding this in a couple of different places to help users migrate over. And one of the things that we noticed was that the click area for like these fields is too wide. So for example, if your mouse is over here, you know, you still get this click area, which is a little unusual. And so we filed a bug about that, and that's what this patch is about. And the student Brian has a patch. So let's take a look at what Brian's patch does. So Brian's patch changes the label inside of the CSS file to be of display block rather than display flex. So let's try applying this patch actually right away. You know, it's small enough that we can actually do it ourselves by hand. And what's nice is Storybook will automatically reload. We don't have to like build or restart or anything. So let's try applying this technique by hand and see what it's like. So migration wizard, label, display block, and margin inline and 1em, and then we'll remove that. So save, and then we go back here. So already I see a little bit of an alignment issue when we do that, because these don't become center aligned, and it doesn't seem to fix the issue, at least for me. Let's open up our dev tools and maybe we can debug this a little bit more and offer Brian some suggestions. So our label expands with display block, and even with that margin, like if that margin isn't clickable, which is good, but the label does extend because it's a block element. It's gonna try and fill the whole block space. Where should you be able to click? Only the text and the button? Yeah, the idea is like similar for, I think we do the same thing for settings. I think we only, is that bug? What do we do? Maybe we have the same bug here. And is that a bug? I think I've definitely seen us fix this in the past where we want just the label text and the checkbox to be the click area, so that you don't accidentally like surprise yourself by enabling something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back, display flex, align items center. But is there a way that we can flex it smaller? Like can you tell it to shrink? Like flex shrink. There we go. And then the label is too wide. Can we have this also flex shrink? Now, it's actually not a flex in a flex item. Flex direction column. But now it is. So the label is shrink wrapped. That's good. The input is shrink wrapped, but the span is like shrinking. The input is shrinking, but the label extends the entire width. How about width min content? See, that's kind of the idea, except that we don't want the text to break. White space, no wrap. See, that'll do it. But I wonder what'll happen if, like, if this gets really wide. Save passwords and logins and save passwords and logins. That'll end up pushing that out, and it won't wrap. What are my other choices here? With fit content? That seems like the right one. Fit content. I think we do eventually want this to wrap. But that would imply that we like supply some kind of like hard limit on the width. Yeah, I think that's what we want. We want something like that. I think that's what I'm going to recommend to Brian. So what are the changes? Oh, let's also see what happens if do I need to have that flex shrink on the span? Oh, I don't. I can just have, so let's remove some stuff here that we don't need. The label, I don't need that. I don't need that. This is what's kind of doing the work, the hard work for us, is fit content. And I think that's maybe all we need. Let's look at the changes again. Fit content. Oh, I put a flex box on the wizard deck. Or on the, did I do it on the field set? Yeah, I did it on the field set. Let's get rid of that. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. Yeah, we're Danny Colin. We're tinkering with it. We're tinkering with the storybook, and we actually have a remotely hosted one. Here. So that you can open this up inside your browser and look at some of our design system stuff. If you're eager to follow along, there is a reusable components meta bug that you can follow about all this work that's currently underway. Here, let me put some links. Reusable components meta bug. Let's also put in the hosted storybook. But also you can run it locally with mock storybook in a separate terminal. To launch the server, you'll need to do this if any resources that the like component you're testing is local only. Link in the agenda, please. Yes, it's going in there. Hosted storybook, reusable components meta bug. There's also, like, during our bi-weekly meetings, you can see that, like, the Firefox meeting, I believe there is a section now for, like, storybook and reusable components where, like, we're giving updates on what's going on there. So you can follow that as well. But this is where most of the activity is rooted, this meta bug. Okay, so I'm going to recommend... Thanks, Brian. Thanks, BFam23. I'm going to suggest a slightly different approach. Can we give the label a width of fit content? Instead, that seems to do the job of shrink wrapping them for me. I notice that this changes the alignment, the vertical alignment of the labels with respect to the checkboxes, and doesn't actually address the hitbox problem. I'm going to select a slightly different approach. So let's double check and make sure that that's going to work. So if I say label, I'm going to put this back. Whoops. Label with fit content. Yeah, that fixes it for me. Boom. So request changes. And then I'm also going to change the project tags to be that this is only changing styling. All right. Cool. Let's move on. So, related to the migration wizard, I can actually give you a sense of another thing that we're hoping to do. So like the migration wizard currently, if you look at it here, has this sort of like basically a select drop down from, HTML select drop down is just like a kind of like a restyled select drop down. And this is just a placeholder. We actually want something a little fancier. In particular, we want to have, Vinitkami. I still don't, I failed to remember if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Asks, what's my favorite coding music? Good question. I'll go through phases. Vinit. Nice to meet you, Vinit. I think I've asked you that before, and so I apologize for forgetting. My favorite music, I don't have like coding music per se, and otherwise, I think it depends on my mood. If I'm stressed out, I'll listen to like classical music to try and calm me down, or I'll listen to like lo-fi beats to calm me down. But if it's like a normal day where I'm not like super stressed, I'll listen to like music that I like, and I tend to like rock music. What else? I'm listening to something recently. There's a Canadian. This band does not exist anymore. They were big in the 90s, and they're a unique flavor. I don't know if you'll like them. By you'll, I'm talking about everybody. They're called Gandharvas. I think they're in title here. They're called the Gandharvas, but I'm pretty sure they just called themselves Gandharvas. But maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, Gandharvas, and then I think they changed their name from Gandharvas to the Gandharvas. But I've been listening to their first album, which was called Kicking in the Water, which I've been enjoying. I listened to this one a lot when I was growing up. I have an affinity. I really enjoy like 90s alternative Canadian rock, like local Canadian rock. And if you're looking for an interesting track for either of these, I think Drool is a pretty good one. On Kicking in the Water, and in Sold for a Smile. The First Day of Spring was their big breakout hit. You can find that on YouTube. I think a lot of these are Hammer in a Shell is pretty good. I'll give them a listen. The Gandharvas, they don't exist anymore as a full band, but I think the lead singer periodically continues to play in his spare time. Okay, let's keep going. Songs with lyrics distract me. Sometimes I listen in a language I don't understand. Yeah, I get that. I'm somehow able to like not pay attention to the lyrics. I actually it's mostly background. It could be like the most intense music, but I can sort of just have it as background, and it usually doesn't affect me. I know for some people though, too like lyrics will distract them. Okay. What was up? What are we doing now? Right, I was talking about the this bug, panel lists. So panel lists are a way of defining things like this. Here, let me show you an example. This is a panel list, and that might look kind of similar to this, but it's not, because this is restricted to the content area. A panel list is just like, it's almost like a select drop down. And one of the things about like select drop downs or pop-ups in content is that they cannot break out of the boundary of the content area, and that's for security reasons. We don't want them to be able to like overlap things like the URL bar or any of the browser UI for a variety of reasons. But whenever we're privileged, we do want to be able to do that in certain cases. We do want to be able to have these things like overlap other things when we know that we are running in a privileged context, when we're running in the parent process. And so what this means is what we want to do is be able to have the same markup be able to open inside what we consider a panel, which is like one of these things. This, if you'll notice, can float over top of other stuff. Like it can definitely break out of the content area. It's not restricted to the content area. And so I wrote a patch to do that, and that works. And the first patch was accepted. This next one needs revision, and I want to quickly do that revision. So let's see. Let's pull these patches down and look at the feedback from my reviewer, Mark Streamer. I'm looking for, what am I looking for? 180.2215. And yeah, I'm like blocking a whole stack of patches here, so I want to do this today if I can. Yeah, this stuff has already landed, so I'm going to rebase this, and whoops, and this on central. Oh, Vinit, no problem. I'm happy to reply. Thanks for the question. I hope it was interesting. Thanks for watching over the years. I don't know how many live coding people there are out there. I'm always astonished that there's like an audience for this stuff, but I'm happy to have people who've been watching. I'm happy to have people with me while I do this. If you're curious, if you want to hear about more live streamers, if this is a genre that you're into, I've linked to a couple down here of people that have done live streaming in the past. I don't know how many of them are still doing it, but you should check some of those people out. I don't know if I talked about it. There was like I was featured in a blog post. I was featured in a blog post where I talked about the joy of coding. So a little bit of shameless self-promotion. If you want to hear more about that, you can read up on that. Mike, shameless self-plug. Here's a careers.mozilla.org blog post about Mike and the joy of coding. So you can hear a little bit more about the background of what got me doing this. The work I've done since joining the team, what I did, I was working on electrolysis, what's next, what's going on, that sort of thing. So check that out. All right, so I have rebased those patches. Let's build them, and I'll show you what they can do. Link to this, please. I've put it in the agenda. I can drop it into the Twitch chat as well. Boop, boop, boop. There you go. Ray says, that's the post that brought me here. As someone actively seeking software engineering jobs is really encouraging and inspiring. Hey, that's a great thing to hear. I'm glad it was encouraging and inspiring, Ray. Thanks for watching the stream. Thanks for being here. If you're seeking work, it's an interesting time in the software engineering industry because there's like a lot of high profile layoffs happening. Like I think Microsoft, what was the news today that like Microsoft just laid off like 10,000 people or something like that. And so, you know, I think it depending on where you're looking, it can be a little bit difficult right now to secure a job. There's a lot of people who are probably looking for work. But that's not to say that there aren't open positions, and that's not to say that you shouldn't apply. I think, Ray, apply to stuff. Stuff that interests you, and you should check it out. Careers.mozilla.org. Danny Colin points out careers.mozilla.org has some open positions. Oh, and it looks like it's been revamped. Let's look at some job listings real quick. You could help us with Common Voice for the that's on the foundation side of things. Let's see, security, staff security, product data scientist, privacy engineer, site reliability, site reliability engineer, marketing, people partner, senior lead business development, staff software engineer for Pocket, a student worker if you're in Germany. If anyone here is in Germany and you want to work on the VPN, there's a student worker position here. Same with Dom Core if you're in Germany. Yeah, check these listings out here. I'm going to put these listings in the direct link inside of the chat, and I'll also put a link here in the inside of the agenda. That'll sync in just a second. Now, one thing that I think is happening now is you should just check these out. I remember filing a bug because some of these, like if you were to choose like a particular location, sometimes the like things that said Toronto, like I just chose Toronto for example, and I remember seeing a bug that like some weren't showing up when you filter them, but I think they may have fixed it. Remote Canada. I think they've fixed it. So yeah, these are the places that we currently offer work. Like the Berlin office, remote in Canada. We're a very remote friendly workforce. Like I think there's a significant proportion of people at Mozilla who work remotely. I do hybrid. I'm sometimes in the office and sometimes home. Like especially during lockdowns and the pandemic, the deepest part of the pandemic when everyone was working from home, Mozilla was already set up to do it, which is really nice. Remote France, Germany, Spain, UK, US, and then we've got the San Francisco office and the Toronto office and the Berlin office. These are the ones that have open roles in them. So check it out. Okay, so I've built these patches. What do they do? What's a good way of demonstrating what they do? It's hard to demonstrate without actually having an example. So I think there was like a I think there was an example that I had somewhere. Hang on. Panel list. Use panel list in the migration wizard. This was like my demo. So let's see if we can rebase that. No problem, Ray. No problem. We hit some merge conflicts. Merging, rebasing that commit again in the working copy. Uncommitted changes. I had some uncommitted changes. I think we might have to try that again, what we just did. We're going to abort our rebase, but I guess we had some uncommitted changes. Oh, you know what? It was this thing. So I'm going to rebase abort, and we're going to revert our one little change there, and then we are going to attempt to rebase that one change again. If the version control stuff, which is something, if you're, I'm speaking to you, Ray, but also to anyone who's like gonna get into a career in software development, the version control story is still pretty rough. Like, version control is a tool that you will use. You will use version control in software development. almost certainly. But the and like the dominant one is Git. You may have heard of Git and GitHub. And sometimes I find that like it's a bit of a hurdle using Git, but just stick with it. You'll figure it out. There are lots of people just like you figuring it out too. And I myself am only kind of used to Git, not really. Okay, so this is proof of concept from a ways back, and so I'm gonna remove that, rebase, and then I put the items in the panel list. Okay. I think what I'll do is like that. Okay. So I'm going to resolve. Next one's this one. Ray's like, I recently built a Kafka consumer proxy with a remote team. We used Git exclusively since it was the most familiar and it was a good experience. Not totally production level stuff. We got the basics down. I can't imagine the struggles with massive code bases and hundreds of services. Well, so one thing you can do, like if you're, I don't know how much free time you have, but one thing you could do is tinker with some large code bases, open source code bases. Like Mozilla, for example, you happen to be here, Ray, and not to toot our own horn, but we've got like a lot of work that's available for you. If you want to work on a good first bug for Firefox, there is Code Tribute. I've talked about this a couple times on this stream, but this is a way for you to find things that, mentored bugs to work on in some projects at Mozilla, including Firefox. If you care about like the desktop front end, there's a big list here of like interesting mentored bugs that you could get assigned to and work with someone on. But other things as well, like maybe you're interested in Perl. Bugzilla is written in Perl. You could work on that. The linter for Rust code, I think, is written in Rust if you want to work on that. Web extension stuff. There's lots of different projects to contribute to. I don't know why Servo is still on here. I guess technically, I don't. Servo is not a thing that Mozilla maintains anymore. That's the Linux Foundation currently maintains Servo, and recently got some people hacking on it from Igalia, so that's exciting. Code Tribute, check that out if you want to find some interesting things to work on. Thunderbird, Treeherder, lots of variety, and you can break it down based on like what language you maybe want to practice with. Swift, C++, we have a lot of different technologies we work with, and you can pick and choose based on that. And outside of Mozilla, there might be some interesting open source projects that you want to contribute to. Like if I myself, let's say I had like infinite free time, and an open source project I might want to work on is ScumVM, which is a tool that allows you to play old school point and click adventure games. And there are lots of people contributing. Like the last commit was only an hour ago, so it's a very active project. Lets people play games from back in the day on modern hardware. And it's lots of things you could contribute to out there to help expand your toolkit, build up your tool set. Okay, and then there was this one as well. I'm gonna, was it dialogue mode with? Keep that in there. Okay. Let's take a look. Let's look at what we've got. Now, Storybook has been running this whole time in the background. I'm not even entirely sure I needed to build just now, but Kubernetes. I don't even know what that is. I've heard that term not bandied about a lot. I know there's like a lot of, it's like some kind of microservice Docker or something or other. Not really a thing I'm too familiar with, but I know it's important. People are really interested in it. So this is an example of of a panelist appearing inside the migration wizard. And what's interesting is, like, we've got this instance in Storybook that's restricted to this content area, and then if we turn on the content modal, I actually don't know if this is going to work. Let's find out. Then we get this. We get this version of it, I think. Actually, that's not busting out. I was expecting that to bust out a little bit more. What's going wrong here? Inside of a panelist. Oh, right, because there's one piece I'm missing. Which is inside of migration dialog .js. It was this thing. Shoot. To find that chunk of code that was originally running in here. This is what I want. We have to do this little dance. Yeah, all right. So we'll do that. And now, look, it busts out. Hey, that's what we want. This is the sort of thing that we want here. Now, this toggle is we don't like want this toggle button here. We want this to be anchored to this thing, but you know, this affords us a lot of opportunity. This new kind of drop down, because we can style it more than we can style these. You know, these HTML select drop downs. There's a limit to what you can. How you can style them. Like, browsers have kind of converged on the limits there, and the way it's powered is very complicated. But with the panel menu, you can add icons and badges, and you know, we get a lot of the power of. Here, why is it? I wish I wasn't in dark mode. Turn off dark mode. Let's fake light mode. There we go. We get a lot of the niceties that we expect from the normal panel, but we can run it in content. So the advantage of all of this is that we can develop in Storybook and have something that appears the same as it will appear here. The only advantage is that, like, when it appears here, it can bust out. So we've got these two places where we can do our development. And that's going to be helpful for whenever we decide to embed this in other contexts, like about welcome or about preferences or something, where we're not necessarily allowed to bust out of the content area. And so we'll fall back to using something like this. So that's a demonstration of what it is that I did. I'm just going to rebase, continue. Oh yeah, I got to resolve all of these conflicts. And this one too. Now, the thing that I'm resolving, like, this was just the demonstration. I could have run the tests, but it would have gone by so fast, it wouldn't have allowed me to sort of demonstrate what this patch is trying to do. But ultimately, it powers being able to embed the panelist inside of a floating Zool panel. And this patch, the one that has review comments for me to address, has to do with, like, anchoring logic. So now let's finally get down to it. It seems to work with both the target and the panel in the same shadow DOM. It would be nice to have a test for this, but for some reason the test I tried writing keeps failing with operation not supported, and the styles are all messed up, and I don't get what's happening there. Yeah, I agree. I just remember this worked in the other place and looked at the code. Sure enough, there was a minor tweak there. Basically, we only want to find a new target if we don't already have one, then it works. What he means. Suggested logic is slightly different than one you had, but I think it comes out to the same thing. This is me wondering if we should use some different logic like this. That's here. Oh, he has actually a recommended set of changes. All right. That works for me. I mean, how's he doing it? Instead of if the event is composed. So first of all, we prioritize returning the saved composed target. As opposed to overwriting it. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So we prioritize this step. Because that's what was happening before, is that we were like overwriting this in this step. That's what my patch was trying to do here, is like, but I like his idea of just prioritizing the existing saved composed target. So what we'll do is we'll move this. And then if event composed, then we'll say, oh yeah, it's just reorienting what we were doing before. That's way better. It's just like flipping these two conditions around. That's ultimately what he's doing. He's just taking this condition and putting it after this condition. And then, right, and then this. So let's make sure that that works. I'll amend and next. Let's see here, mock run, and then we're gonna see whether or not we can maybe write a quick test for this in our last half hour. So that works for me, and then oh, yep, that works too. And then all of the existing ones, like in add-ons and themes, like that anchors. Yeah. Yeah. Works for me. Okay, I like it. Thanks, Mark. Now, can we write a test for this? The issue that this tries to solve. Mark said he was running into like operation not supported. Let's see if we run into the same thing. I think there are existing tests for panel list. I had written one in test widgets, so we're gonna add one here. We're gonna say mock add test toolkit widgets, toolkit content tests widgets. We'll say test panel list shadow DOM anchor, shadow node anchor, maybe HTML. Oh, and then we have to specify that we're adding a Moki test, a Chrome Moki test, because it doesn't know which. Okay, we'll add the test to our commit, and let's open it up. The first thing we need to do is we need to define ourselves something with a shadow DOM, like a custom element. Class test element extends HTML element, and then we'll say connected callback this dot shadow equals what's the move? It's like open shadow, connect root, attach shadow. That's what we want to do. Attach a closed shadow. Attach shadow. And we want a slot. Here, I'm just trying to do something minimal here. Static markup. Migration wizard. Here, we'll use this as kind of like our template. Something much simpler than this. So instead of all of this, we're going to say you get div style equals height 400px, and then div id equals anchor, or I'm going to say button id equals anchor, slot. Is that how that goes? Slots. Slot open close. Okay, slot open closed. And then we're gonna fix that, and we're gonna say whenever you get parse from string template. I wonder if a lot of this can probably be simplified. If no template, I don't need that. So let doc parse from string, test element markup. Doc equals document. Well, no, that's not true. Doc import node doc query node template, and then a fragment equal test element template content clone node. And this is invalid. JavaScript. Query selector. Can we like fix the formatting here, gang? Yeah, okay. Import node, return the fragment. So we could probably simplify this even further. Insert FTL, we don't need that. Shadow, connect root shadow, and then append the child to the shadow. Shadow, append child, the fragment. So we could probably combine these. And then what we're going to do, we need to import the panel list. I guess it's already available to us. So what we're going to do is test panel list anchor on shadow node. Let us start by test L equals document create element. Oh, we have to register it. Custom elements dot register test element element. I think that's how it goes. Custom elements define, and then the name, and then the class. Define. Then we're going to create our test element, and we're going to say let content equals document get element id content append child test L. The other thing we want to do is let panel list equal document create element panel list. Or you know what we might be able to do actually? Panel list. Let's just put in panel item number 1. Let's do this a few times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we've got our items. We're gonna get list, test list. Let test list equals document get element by ID test list. And then we're gonna say test L append child. We're gonna move it inside the test list. Now the reason I'm doing this is because I'm pretty sure if well, you know what? If I define this in line, maybe I'd be okay just doing it this way. Test element. We might be okay doing it this way. Test element, and then I don't have to do all of this. That's going to cause it to be slotted in here. And then I'm going to say this dot anchor equals this shadow get query selector anchor, and then this dot anchor add event listener click. We will say this let panel equals this dot query selector panel list, and then we'll say panel list dot toggle. I think that's what we can do. Panel list dot toggle, and then we pass in the event. Okay. So we don't have to do this. Template. Anchor. Something clicks on the button, and then we want it to anchor on the button, right? Then we're gonna, so let's make it so that this awaits a new promise, a resolve, set timeout, resolve. Oh, you know what, actually, the other thing we can do is just like keep it open. Let's run this test and see what it looks like. Yeah, regarding Servo, for the people who are interested, there was a blog post, Servo to Advance in 2023. Igalia has, I think, I don't know if that's, do they mention Igalia here? Not really, but I'm pretty sure it's people from Igalia who are working on Servo. Servo news. I think I've mentioned this a couple times in previous episodes, but I think Servo's a neat research project, but in a way it kind of served its purpose, at least from my perspective. Like there was probably maybe more potential, but I think it served its purpose by being a test bed. Well, first of all, as a practical project to develop the Rust language with alongside it, and was a place for us to innovate on things like CSS parsing, multi-threaded CSS parsing, which, you know, the Stylo engine, which does multi-threaded CSS parsing, was then airlifted out of Servo and dropped into Gecko. And same with WebRender, which was piloted in Servo and then dropped into Gecko. And I don't think we had identified much else that could be chopped out of Servo and brought into Gecko, but in many ways, Firefox benefited greatly from the work that was done on Servo, which is really nice. Okay, I wanted to not run this. What was I thinking? I don't want to run this. I want to run the test. So the test is this test. Good, and it anchors to the actual anchor, which is right. Because I think without the patch, and we can verify this, it would have anchored to the bottom of the big box. And what's the best way of showing that? So here's our test. Let's amend to commit ourselves to this. And then we're going to revert part of the fix. Let's revert this part of the fix and put panelist.js. We're going to revert this. And the easiest way to do that is actually to uncommit the change and then shelve it. Come on, Mercurial. You can do it. All right. I'm going to run the test again. What? Did I need to mock build faster? That is bizarre. Let's keep open and let's examine this a little bit. That should not be happening. What I was expecting it to do was to show the bug where it anchors to the bottom of the red rectangle, but it's anchoring to the button still. So I'm going to open up the DevTools. That's our panel list. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the debugger. Last anchor node. Where did I see this happening? It was in like set align. Okay. And then we get the target for the triggering event. There's no event. What? Triggering event is null. That's unexpected. Triggering event equals right. Triggering event not being set properly. Okay, now it's set. Is it being cleared somehow? See, that's what I'm expecting. See how it's stuck there at the bottom? Stop triggering event. See, now it's there. And then now we're in hide. How do we get to hide? Handle event. Oh, because we've blurred focus. On the window, we focused away from the window. Okay, well, I think that means that we're gonna have to do a little bit of logging, actually. Instead of breakpoints like this, which change focus, we're gonna have this running in the background. Let's add some, I wanna put that away, and we're gonna add some log points. Add log. This dot triggering event, and we'll pull this up. Okay, so we do have a triggering event, and then in here, add log this dot triggering event. Yeah, still there. Oh, and then see, yeah, the test element, the event target change. So I would have expected the anchor to be test element and not the anchor button. So what's happening in here? If not event, if event composed, event.composed target or event.composed path, like that. Returning saved composed target. Event saved composed target. Okay. The button. Hang on. I wonder if this is... composed target. I think I might know what's happening here. Yeah. So composed target is not... let's see here. Composed target. Because it's Chrome only, we're hitting into a particular path because we're running inside of privileged code. And in Storybook, we don't hit that privileged code, which is why, right, we're not hitting it. So I think we need to change this from being a Moki test, a Chrome Moki test, to a plain Moki test. So let's now do this. Mock add test. Oh boy, what do we want to do here? We're gonna rename this one test, because let's keep it around for a second. Shadow node anchor. We're gonna say shadow node anchor 2. Panel list shadow node anchor to shadow node anchor 2. And then we're gonna go mock add test, and we're gonna say it's what is the argument that it wants? It's like it wants a flavor. Sweet equals Moki test plain. Okay. And then we're going to add this. And now we're going to say shadow node anchor 2. We're going to update this. I guess I could have probably kept a lot of that. Let's see what happens if I just run this test now. I guess I can delete the old one now. Widgets, test widgets, chrome.ini, anchor 2. We can get rid of toolkit, content test, widgets, test, panel list, shadow node anchor 2. Forget then. Fine. I guess we never amend. All right, now let's run the test that we've added. Whoop. Oh, I guess we can remove. And now we'll say, run the test. And we'll see what happens. Now I expect it to anchor to the red box. Oh. I have to build faster, apparently, to repackage tests. All right. Come on, gang. Let's do it. What are you talking about? Why are you complaining about this? Do I have something somewhere that still uses anchor 2? HD export grep. No. What would still be sibling target path? Test widgets, test panel anchor 2. Widgets. Moki test.ini. Yeah. What you talking about? Building the tests directory. I wonder if there was like a manifest that was out of date. I think I may have confused it with like a bunch of my shenanigans with Mercurial there. Let's see if this does the job, and if not, that's frustrating. we'll figure it out. All right, now can you run the test? Come on. What is happening? Toolkit content test grep. Anchor 2.html. Where do we make reference to it? We don't. So then what are you talking about? Am I going to have to clobber? Ugh. All right. Need to HG add? Except that, like, the file that it's complaining about is the one I removed on purpose. Like, I don't expect this to exist. The problem is that it's looking for it. So I'm going to just clobber. I have a feeling some manifest got very confused. Let's see what happens. Come on, gang. Let's go. While we're waiting for this to do its thing, any questions? Anyone want want any questions answered? Go ahead and drop them in the chat while we wait for this. What's going on here, Mock? What are we waiting for? Okay, well, while we're waiting for this, one thing that you might find interesting, if you want to track what we're doing with the new Migration Wizard, not only can you look at the storybook that's being published here, I don't know how often that gets updated. You can flip a pref. This is very early days, by the way. But you can flip this pref, browser migrate content modal enabled. New migration wizard work is behind this pref. This is like super early. It's not ready for people to test it yet. But if you were to flip that pref, then you get the new. Oh well, yeah, that's not what you're supposed to be seeing. I need to apply an update. But basically, that's what is going to show you the new migrator wizard, which is not functional right now. It's fully broken, but we're getting close with the students. I think we're getting close to something that might actually be able to migrate stuff soon. And then we can start, fitting in some of the nice things that product management and user experience want. But the infrastructure is almost done. And like as a sneak preview, some of the things that, I don't know if it's actually here. No? Well, I can show you some of the different states that have been implemented in a sec once we're done this build. I really hope that this fixes the issue, because otherwise I don't know what's going wrong. All right, try and run that test now. I think that's the important part. The test configuration changed and it's regenerating the back end. I think that's the thing that I needed to. Yeah, it's going to like rebuild a bunch of stuff. Here we go. Yeah. What in the world? Type panelist toggle is not a function. Does it not know what it? Okay, I guess I have to bring in panel list. Panel list.js. What's the? That's the script. Script source equals that. All right, try again. All right, I'm going to end the stream in a second, but I did want to show you the okay. See, that's the bug that they show up down there. Yeah, it anchors wrong. And these are all like styled incorrectly. We need to get like panelist.css loaded as well. So let's put that in here. What in the world? Do you have... panel list.css? That's right. Stay open. So it is getting some of panel list. But panel item. Oh, I also need panel item.css. Okay. Okay. What? Still broken. I mean, I'm getting distracted. Panel list. Stay open. Now it's anchored way up here because of stuff, but where's this panel item? CSS loaded? Yeah. Oh, you know what it is? I think it's because, yeah, there's just like some of the like remapping and special rules aren't applying. But display block, the button. Do I also need to include panel item.js? No. Panel list includes panel item. Yeah. So what the heck? But it's like the panel items don't have don't get created properly. I'm willing to let that go because really all I want to do is check the anchoring of the panel list, so I don't need to have like a huge dealio there. What I need to do is synthesize a click on the anchor. Like I'm reproducing the issue, which is that it's anchoring on the thingy, the red box. And what's the best way of testing that is probably like examining the top value, and we should expect it to be within a certain pixel range of the anchor. So let's see, what's the best way to do this? We need to click. Event utils lets me click using no wait, .html click. I think I can get access to the just like do click this dot anchored click. Let test element equal document get element by ID test element. And we'll say test element do click. Let panel list equal document got element by ID. I'm gonna have doClick also return the anchor. Let anchor equals that panel list equal element by ID test list. Let top equal panel list get bounding client rect. Let top console, and then like console log top. What happens then? I don't know if I'm going to be able to, operation is not supported. Add task is not defined. Can Moki test not have add task? Moki test. What kind of test is this? This is a Moki test. How do I get add task? Form autofill common maybe? Simple test.js. I get that from here. What do you mean there's no such thing as add task? Not defined. Oh, not allowed to load this document, simple test.js. Oh, I wonder. World, this accessibility. I see. You need relative paths. So if I do it like that, are you happy about that? Yes, it's happy about that. I also suspect I don't need to do this. That's already included. Except the add task is not defined, so yes, I do need that. All right, operation is not supported at line 58. Oh no, line 58 is the logging. Operation is not supported. Where is that operation not supported happening? So we can get the anchor out. What operation is not supported? Okay, we expect get bounding client rect. Of the panel list. Oh, I need it to stay open. Hang on. Click. open. Do click. Oh, I need to wait for the panel list to open. That's what I need to do. Await. Let open promise equals new promise resolve. Add event listener. What was it? Panel list was the event dispatch event. Send event. What's it called? Send event showing shown. I want shown. Add event listener shown. Panel list. Add event listener shown. Resolve once true. And then do click await open promise, and then we're gonna get the panelist get bounding rect. We're gonna log it. Top 102. There we go. And really, we expect it to be close. Ideally below the anchor. So let's panel rect, let anchor rect, get bounding client rect. We expect, I think it's like is. It's like the delta between, if we were to remove panel rect dot top minus anchor rect dot top minus anchor rect dot height, let remove the top, panel relative to anchor top left equals panel top relative to anchor top left is that, and I'm going to say is or okay, that is less than like 5. Foo Barbas. Just put something in there. All right, let's see what it thinks about that. Failed because of an uncaught DOM exception. Which one is the uncaught DOM exception? Like, let me just start like commenting stuff out. Operation is not supported. What are you talking about? Is there something? Style sheets. Let's just get rid of this. Let's also get rid of this. So it's really upset about me loading this element. That's what's going wrong. I wonder if I can just do like this instead. Will that? Can't find it. So I'm gonna have to like package it or something, but okay, I can work with that. So let's put all this back, and I'll figure that out. But I'm gonna do it outside of this episode. Hey, thank you so much for watching episode 312 of The Joy of Coding. I hope that was interesting. We covered a lot of ground. And hopefully next week we can get back to that Windows jump list stuff, because I know it's been long. It's a long time running on that one. Let's try and get something showing up for the Windows jump list next week. Let me know what you thought. If you are, if you're willing, you can rate this episode. There's a link in the agenda to rate this episode. I'll even put a link to that in the chat right now. And that's a good opportunity for you to let me know what you thought, what you'd like to see more of, what you'd like to see less of, and to ask me questions that I will answer on a later stream. So go ahead and send your ratings in. There's also every rate this episode form has a fun photo of me, a unique photo of me that I've packed in as a thank you for filling out the form. So check it out. Hey, all right, let's call it there. Thanks again, everybody. Have yourselves a great week. I'll hopefully see you next week with episode 313. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.